maayong gabi. Anihan ang punta karon sa ato ang last Wednesday of the month na habit dinhi sa inyong programa nga Partners in Law. Ako si Atty. Irene and Caballes, ang inyong anchor for this evening, and today is the last day of the first month of the year 2018. Happy New Year and Pit Senior to our televiewers by the way. For tonight's program, we decided to continue showing what happened during the Legal Alternatives for Women Center forum, which we call Klaruhayta, between the stakeholders, the multi-stakeholders at the VAW, and in particular, we showed a portion of it way back in November, I think, but we weren't able to fully show it because the footage was so long, and I was just going over through some of the footages here. And wala pa kayo ma-covered ang discussion on the general rules on filing of criminal cases for violations of VAWC under RA 9262, and also the evidentiary requirements and elements of the offense of RA 9262, and including mga related cases of child abuse and some points of procedure in criminal cases involving child victims. So, without further ado, I would like to present to you now the video of our speaker, resource person, Assistant Cebu City Prosecutor Ratilla, or Fiscal QB. So, roll VTR.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be here. This is actually a stakeholders forum. I understand most of you are from the different barangays of Cebu. From the PNP, here, and other stakeholders. The Cebu City Prosecutor's Office is aware of the, I think it's a grammar coming from the complainants, or some of the complainants, why complaints for violence against women and children are dismissed, or if I may say, the office does not sustain the filing of the said complaint, or it will not reach the court because of the insufficiency of evidence and lack of probable cause. However, we are aware really that there is a pervasive social problem happening in the different families. This is actually a domestic squabble experienced by many of us Filipinos. And I think we're even lucky in Asia. The Philippines is, I think, in a better situation than other countries, because women do participate in building, in holding positions in the government, and even recognized as really nation-building partners. But then, we still continue to experience that sort of thing that it's men who are the leaders and women are merely the supporters. Do you agree with me? Yes. It is not really to offend the men who are present here. And I tell you, even if we have violence against women and children as a law, it does not mean that we have relegated to the background also the rights of our men. In the event we have battered husbands, do we have that, or battered husbands? The remedy for the agreed parties actually to resort to the different crimes provided by the revised penal code. And what is that? Maybe we have physical injuries. Maybe we have anything that fits into any crime defined by the revised penal code, though we don't have any equivalent violence against men and his children law. With VAWC, we are not saying that it is constitutionally infirm because there is no equivalent law in favor of men. But then, as earlier mentioned, do not forget that we have the revised penal code and other special penal laws that men may resort to in the event they feel aggrieved. So, really like we have for Lugi, no? Because this is not a business where we will be talking of who has the profit, or who has more of the profit, and who is Lugi, or inside the KJ. Now, talking about filing of complaints, the Department of Justice, through the different field offices of the National Prosecution Service, has actually laid down some guidelines. So we cannot say that even I tell you what are the requirements to be submitted or to be attached to your complaint, that is it already. Because every case is different from, one case is different from the other. And it depends upon how well the narration is presented. So even if you say you have been aggrieved, you have been offended, you have been a battered wife, but then the things or circumstances that may convince the office to leave one accusation to the court may not be given due course by the office. Now, I am not saying that there is a hard and fast rule, or that we are trying to, rather we're trying to be indifferent, no, to the predicament our women are undergoing. But then we have also a law to follow, and we have also a mandate that we can only bring a matter to the court if it is something that can be proven. If it is something that can be established in court, because it's useless for the office to allow a complaint to reach the court if it is difficult for the prosecutor handling it to prove the theory for the prosecution. And of course, it is not only the coordination or cooperation of the victim, it is as well the cooperation of the witnesses of the victim if there are any. Now, violence against women and children comes in different forms. It is not only limited to physical injuries and abuse. It is not limited to financial difficulty or abuse. It is not limited to financial or economic. It is not limited to psychological abuse, but it also covers sexual abuse. Okay. Now, why is there sexual abuse? Because it is not that you are married, the husband can demand at any time copulation with the wife. Dapat mo nang sabukan, di ba? It should be to the understanding of both. Di po pwede na si wife demands every time and the husband is busy working, therefore the husband is not there to deliver. And so, the wife complains she is abused because of not delivering. Okay. This is a lie, I'm just joking. Okay. Now, there is also a situation where one says, I am abused because my husband is at any time ready to hit me. Every time I ask him, where did he go? Where did he come from? What was his activity the whole time? However, if these questions are also coupled with triggers, like, namutala ka, pero pinadakot sa ulo sa bana, so this trigger actually a conflict already. Because the husband has been out there working hard and the wife is waiting, nagging all the time, and sometimes hit the husband because to him, anyway the husband is broke, is big enough, he has good body structure, and he may resist or he is not bothered even if I hit him. So that is something that one should also refrain from doing so. I am not saying that the husbands are sinners and the wives are saints. I am not saying that we should be saints before we can file a complaint for VAWC. There must be a balance actually. If you want to complain or if you want to reach your concern to the authorities, at least you are ready and that the husband or there is nothing that the husband can throw against you. Now, there was a case in the past which was filed, or a complaint in the past which was filed before our office, alleging that the husband has not been supporting, alleging that the husband is collaborating, alleging that the husband, every time there is a demand or need for financial support, the husband refuses to give. So a complaint was filed. The husband was able to submit a counter affidavit and advancing in his defense various receipts that he has been fulfilling or he's compliant rather of his fatherly obligation. And so we examined the receipts. True enough, they were receipts for different groceries, for the education or tuition of the children, etc. The problem was the wife wanted more, and the husband was able also to submit pictures of the wife with another man. It's not just another man, but there were occasions in the past that he was always out with friends, and she cannot even attend to the needs and even special occasions for the children. So it is not so much that we hear the side only of the women. We also hear the side of the possible perpetrator, because it may be that the perpetrator is not actually the person is being pointed to as having violated the law. Remember that when you file a complaint, when you do initiatory complaint, it triggers or invites a possible counter-complaint from the opposing party. And so you have to be ready, because evidence is evidence, no? If one can show some evidence, the other is also possible that the other one or the other party can also prove or can also adduce evidence in his favor. Now, going back to the sinners and saints, a complainant need not be the good. A complainant need not be the silent type of wife that she does not complain every time the husband rather repents. But I am saying here that before a complaint is filed, try to examine first your conscience. Try to examine the evidence you have, if it is strong enough to convince the authorities that indeed the law should be in your favor. Okay. So, the filing of a complaint before the prosecutor's office depends upon the happenstance of each case. I am saying that we are not really minding strong, overflowing evidence. What we need is merely something to establish your theory. And therefore, if it is a complaint for physical abuse, it does not mean that it is automatically VAWC per se. Now, for physical abuse, actually there is a stage of physical abuse. If we refer to the revised penal code, we have slight physical injuries, we have less serious, and we have serious physical injuries. And the nature of the crime of physical abuse under VAWC is actually, or must be understood within the context of what the revised penal code has defined as physical abuse, or rather as physical injuries in the revised penal code. But remember, as mentioned earlier, it is not automatically VAWC if one has been inflicted with physical injury. Okay? Now, I am not saying that if it is an isolated case that is not VAWC. I am not saying that even if it is an isolated case, it's already VAWC. It depends again upon the circumstances of the incident. Now, what if the allegation of physical abuse cannot be proven by any medical certificate or any doctor's intervention because the victim failed to report the same? And in the recurring incidents, again, the victim did not decide to report the matter to a medical facility. Usually, the practice of our women is to keep things or to cry out in silence, not to exaggerate the incident in order to protect the children from being dragged onto the scene. However, though we need the medical certificate issued by doctors, particularly government doctors, to strengthen our position that one has been physically abused, but then, as I've said, what if there has been a failure on the part of the complainant to report? What will be the remedy? Okay. Now, it is not only medical certificate that we resort to or we consult to if one has been physically abused or that he has been maltreated or she has been maltreated.
And now, without further ado, let me present to you the footage of the Deputy City Prosecutor of Cebu City, Prosecutor Luisa Ratilla, or the prosecutor we fondly call Fiscal QT. Roll VTR.
There is an instance where you have not reported to the doctor, but you have reported the matter to the barangay. Or, there is an instance that even if you have reported to the doctor, you have a medical certificate, but the attending physician is no longer available to testify. Because doctors, sometimes especially government doctors, who have their trainings in government facilities for a limited period, move out after the end of the training. Now, barangay officials are mandated by law to report any incident of abuse. Whether it's VAWC related, whether it's about children, you are mandated to report. Even if a complainant for that matter, or a wife or a common law partner has not reported any physical abuse, but if a barangay worker or official comes into the knowledge of the incident, she or he must record or have it reported at the barangay. In a sense, there is something that the offended party can go to in the event she wishes to have her case, or rather, she wishes to have her experience reaches the authorities. In other words, even if there is lack of medical certificate, or even if a medical certificate is available but the doctor is not, or the attending physician is not, you can still rely on the report as recorded in the barangay that a particular incident of abuse actually took place. Now, what if there is no barangay report? What if there is no medical certificate, nor any attending physician to attest to the fact that the aggrieved party or the victim of VAWC has been injured? Then you can utilize witnesses. Your neighbor probably, the children should be the last resort, because we do not want to traumatize children as having to choose between his or her father or mother. By testifying, sometimes the respondent or the offended party would accuse the child of having chosen the mother. Or if the child would testify in favor of the father, then you are asking as if the child has chosen the father and not the mother. So children may be witnesses, but in all likelihood, will experience trauma. So please, if there are other witnesses available, then we should resort, or we should consider children as our witnesses of last resort. This is actually to set aside possibility that children may be dragged and experience trauma and be in between the mother and the father. Now, on psychological abuse, okay, if it is a case of in flagrante, or say the batterer, the perpetrator was caught in the act or caught shortly after the fact, There is no way that one would secure a psychological examination report or a psychological assessment because of the time frame involved, no? By filing a complaint, and then the aggressor or the perpetrator is brought to the authority, and then later on processed before the prosecutor's office through inquests. If it is a psychological abuse, there is no way that the offended party could submit the necessary psychological evaluation report. And how can say she is psychologically affected or violated if the incident happened this hour and only 5 hours thereafter a complaint is already filed? Okay, unless of course the psychological battery has been going on for such a long time that it can be adduced or it can be established by other evidence aside from that incident taking place where the aggressor or the perpetrator was caught in the act. Now, if it is a case of inquest again, psychological abuse can be filed, but usually we go to the side on whether there is also physical abuse, because we cannot immediately say that there is psychological abuse in the absence of any physical abuse. Now, physical evidence is actually an evidence of the highest order. Makita mo kung nagay-bunog, etc. Unless, of course, the marks have faded. No? So, the Supreme Court in so many cases said that physical evidence is actually evidence of the highest order. Sometimes you don't even have to present a medical certificate to show that indeed you have been physically abused. Pictures would suffice. However, in order to deter possible infliction, self-infliction of injuries, ikaw mismo sumbag-sumbag or magsamag-samag sa iyong kaugalingon just to convince the authorities that your husband has been abusing you physically. That's why we require the presentation or the production of a medical certificate. Because doctors would know whether this is self-inflicted, whether this is inflicted by a third person or a third party. But then, as I have said, with the Supreme Court decisions on cases involving physical injuries, physical evidence actually attains the highest form of evidence because it can be seen, it can be viewed, it can be examined, and even if the cars have already faded, if pictures are presented and properly authenticated, under the whatever, then that would already suffice as evidence of physical abuse. Now, economic abuse, that can be na-discuss siya ang economic abuse. As mentioned, as you have heard from Attorney Irene Caballes earlier, non-support is not VAWC per se. I'm sorry to tell you, because we have provisions on the rules of court as to the filing of a petition for support. If the husband or any person for that matter refuses to give support. Remember, the support is mutual. Yes. It should not be understood as the mere obligation of the husband or the father. It must be taken to be an obligation of both or by both parties. The father and the mother, the partner and the co-partner. It's never a sole obligation of men. So I would like to disabuse the minds of our women here that even if we have husbands who have probably good income, it does not mean that we rely on them financially. Si Papulang Oroy o si good income earner mawa, magkapakapakat, asa ka pa doon. Okay? And besides the family court mandates, support is mutual, of course. What about the children? Just the same, both parents must give support. And if it is understood by the partners that one is to work because his wife happens to have a, let's say, better possession or income, and the husband stays at home and takes care of the children because that is their understanding, then the wife should not claim non-support coming from the husband because the husband's support to the family is his equivalent industry in taking care of the children and maintaining the household. So, di kita pwede mo rin lang mga kumpana, gaya ka lang, kasilitan of TV. After all, he's the one maintaining the household. Kung siya nagkikipyo, kuskus kusina, kuskus sa CR, labas panty sa asawa. There's nothing there to complain about. Hindi man nag-isabutan. Okay. So what is economic abuse then? The law is very explicit. If support has been given and there is withdrawal of support in order to submit or to subject the wife to surrender, to submit to his wishes, that is economic abuse. Pero kung first demand, no support, hindi na siya VAWC persona. And remember, when demand can support, see to it that it is not your understanding that the husband stays at home, takes care of the children, and maintains the household. Okay, kung muna yung sabot, non-support cannot be expected from the husband. It is your wife who is the low income earner because you have agreed about it to provide for the financial needs of the family. Now, there is also another situation where economic abuse is possible. Let's say the husband is very controlling, even if the money belongs to the conjugal partnership or conjugal community of partnership.
Okay, let's pause for a few reminders from our friends before we continue with our very animated discussion. And we are back. Prosecutor Ratilla will further explain to us what other evidence could possibly be presented in case the woman victim was not able to secure a medical certificate. Roll VTR.
Is it possible to file a complaint for sexual abuse against a partner, against the husband? Yes. Is it possible to file a complaint for sexual abuse against a non-husband, probably because the relationship is out of wedlock, a partnership or a common law? Yes. But then again, it depends upon the narration. So we will try to go into detail. For physical abuse, it is a must that you should produce a medical certificate. If you cannot produce a medical certificate, then witnesses may take its place. Affidavit, sign of witnesses with details of the incident, in the hope that it can convince the court that such incident actually took place. Plus pictures or photocopies. Now, when taking pictures or photos, hindi lang ingon na picture that is it already. No. When you enter an incident in the blatter or the barangay, make sure that you include photos have been taken. And the one taking the picture should sign the picture and indicate the date. Dili managod na posible nga, wag ko picture, magkuha ko, nasamdan ko, and it will apply to a previous incident. Okay. The picture, dapat na ako may apelido ang picture o sa kuan pa na, there should be an address. It should be authenticated. It should contain the author or the one that took the picture. Sign na niya kung pwede na siya sworn statement or affidavit for that matter. Dili pwede na matulbong lang si picture diya o asa siya likan or lipo lang under the sun. No? Now, why are we strict on it? Because to avoid possibility of fabricated evidence. We have so many incidents in the past, no? We have so many complaints in the past that we not given due course because glaring kaayo ang impossibility why this evidence have reached the office. Ang uban ka na, fresh pa kaayo, kanang bago pa kayo, klaro pa kayo. There was even one picture submitted referring to an incident that happened 2 years ago. Sus, kinado na date. nga karon lang ang date sa picture, perfect ay kumukinga, no? So try to examine and try to be careful with the evidence that we produce. Now, I'm not saying na makak si complainant. Partly na makak, but then she failed to take pictures during the past incident. So in the hope of convincing the office na nagkamot in town siya o produce a picture, however, it did not escape the notice of the office kay obvious kung kaya na within. Okay. Now, is it possible that a medical certificate issued 5 years ago can be utilized as an evidence? Yes, for physical abuse. However, make sure that at the time the incident happened, VAWC already. Yes, because in 2004 naman na ito ang effectivity sa VAWC. We cannot say it's VAWC before 2004. It can also be physical injuries kaya hagba na kung describe. No? So, my point and what I'm trying to drive out is, it is not only for you partners who must be educated in what the law is. I think it is incumbent upon the different barangay officials to educate and impress upon your residents, your constituents, that need to know the law, not just wives, but also husbands. Not just the women partners, but also the male partners. Why? Even it's not really our intention na naghantang malakpan or naghantang mapriso or naghantang makihaan. Our intention is to help families avoid conflict. A conflict-ridden family will definitely affect the children. Kung makihaan mo and you're living under the same roof, pastikan, I cannot imagine a situation where the aggrieved and the person who caused the unfairness or the difficulty of the other party are living under the same roof. So, ano na? Hindi na ba yung magluwag kada? Now, we have so many cases before the prosecutor's office. Aggressive wife today, I'm not really complaining, I'm not really blaming wives. Aggressive filed the complaint today. The following day, she's crying her heart out because she wants her husband released. We really understand that. Now we feel so aggrieved, but after hours of processing, we remember how our husbands or our partners have lulled us to sleep, have been taking care of us, makalimot kita at mga datog o kanaglakan that we have experienced. Labi na ang ato ang love of our life, naging ano na ikaw, and with a handcuff on the streets, no? So masabtan na nato niya loving kaya kay ang Filipinos, and they are very strong in our feeling of kinship. Grabe, no? Even strangers, we accommodate, we're very hospitable kung saan na nakaano ang love of our life. So I really understand that, and even in court, si complainant will sit beside the accused husband, asking him, mamaya kung pasay lang mo ako hindi na makakaso. And when the judge says, okay, please, and the wife will oblige, or the husband will oblige, they melt na si wife. Okay. So, pictures, medical certificate if possible, barangay blotter. If not sa barangay blotter, then we have also the WCTD blotter, or probably the NBI. And of course, these were statements of the possible witnesses. Now, our children may be witnesses, but they should be witnesses of last resort para ato itaon sila ma-protect from being dragged into family conflict. No?
And we're back. Do stay tuned and listen to this very animated discussion and sometimes argumentative discussion between the multi-stakeholders from the Department of Health, from the local government units, the barangays, and also from the Department of Justice. Let's listen to this.
4,000. Kinsaon man na nato pagkuan niya. When we look at pila ka buong morte sa korte, less than 20%. Yes, yes.
You mentioned that, Doc, no? We used to be, Santawan used to be operational in the big center.
Yes.
When we turned it over to our sister club, we also put up another VAWC center in Caballes, which offers psychological, purely psychological.
Yes, but psychological evaluation, and then, di ba mato mas korte attorney sa pagno?
In coordination with
Great, yes, yes.
partnership.
Sige, here. Para ma-clarify. Okay, para ma-clarify. Law Inc. is in partnership with Zonta 1, VAWC Center in Julias, in order to provide psychosocial services. Because even in the past, nakabantay, nagka-anam jud o kadaghan. Ang waiting period even sa Soto, maabot ng performance naman. So we have psychosocial services. We partnered with Zonta because they have the VAWC Center. They have an on-call psychometrician. So, daily clinical psychologist. Actually, our psychometrician is Ina here. Hi, Ina. Oh, Ina is here. This is our psychometrician. She makes her assessment. She still has to pass it back to Law Inc. because Law Inc. will look for a clinical psychologist, which we have to go over her results, and then si Dr. Hernani, siya na ang mo testify in court. So yes, NGOs like Law Inc. I think they're the only NGO here in Cebu who provides psychosocial services for purposes of filing in court. Even kami, Doc, makabantay yun niya. Okay, automatic naman na namo. Automatic na basta naagani reklamo sa physical abuse, naagani reklamo sa kanang pagkahasol because of economic deprivation. Makita naman na namo daan, depressed na ni suicidal ideation. Asa na yun na? Ato na yun na diretsyo sa Ina. Sometimes Ina, sometimes Dr. Hernani. We have a pool of volunteers man. But we do realize that dili tanan maabot yun sa korte. Dili tanan maabot yun sa korte. Sige na lang. Kami for you are partners sa VAWNet, di ba? Mag-refer mo yung cases sa amo, ha? You may not know it, but now you will know it. These clients of yours in your various networks, they have been availing of the services of our private agency partners also. For that, we really thank Zonta 1. No? And we have this memorandum of agreement for that. So, thank you sa volunteer. Yes, ma'am. Question. Hala tayo pa. Dali lang. Napay ubang reactor mula.
Doon na lang dito.
Yes. Not only the psychological, medical, psychosocial also, no? So, and psychology.
Is that the reason, ma'am, nga nung demand mo ko? Ako nag-iwan na ako.
Yes.
And sulti na sa among clinic, ang operator sa aming center na. Nag-demand ko no 500 pesos.
Okay.
Para sa psychology.
Oh, sige. Regarding this 500 pesos, to tell you, the Pink Center offers free sa mga amo ang client. Kung if you come here, if the client is physically abused, sexually abused, okay, muna, ang medical, then amo ang psychological. Pero kung itong cases nga psychological lang yun, okay, ang hospital order man good from the head, they said that kinahanglan equal sa Center for Behavioral Science. Kung ato mo sa psychology dito sa psyche department, they are asking sa an amount. Sa OPD, they're asking an amount also sa release sa mga medical certificate. So mauna, ang kikuan, it's not the Pink Center, it's the head office na ilahang order. Okay? So hopefully kasabot mo, inana. Okay? Kaya dili man, pero if you are sexually abused, who comes to the center, you're offered psychological free. Even ang ganang mga STI screening, ang mga medical, we try to, ganang mga drugs or medication, we try to give it for free. Pero kanang psychological, it's not us, it's the hospital's order. Okay? Mauna siya. And another thing, ang ako ng fiscal ba, I would like to ask, asa ta na level about psychological release? Kaya among good, tungod sa kadaghanan, lack of patients for psychological evaluation. We made a policy naman good early karon on nga we will only issue psychological report upon the request sa prosecutor na level, dili na sa police or sa court. Mauna siya, ang among himuon. Aron dili lang yun madaghan. Pero, we will not refuse any patient who comes to the center. They come there for treatment and therapy. Mauna na. Once you file for a case, that's the time we will issue the psychological evaluation. Mauna din na. Treatment and therapy. Hopefully, kasabot mo. Kaya that's our aim.
I'd like to answer that. Upon the filing of a complaint before the prosecutor's office, the necessary documents supportive of the complaint must be there.
So, we need the psychological.
Yes.
Kasi naman mo at korte kasagaran ko. Tagal na yung damuhan, tanan.
You mean to say, no. We are talking about VAWC.
Yes, VAWC.
What do you mean na dilitanan mo at court?
Like, mufay lang siya o circular, ato siya nagpa-blatters police. Automatic sa lang police. Dili, ayaw. Kasi hindi na mo gagawa sa inipat. Automatic sa police, physical and psychological report. Mauna, automatic nila pangayon. Pero not all of them will go and file. Kinanglan yun ni Ngaurag. Mauna yun ni Ngaurag. Templates.
This is not actually...
Nakapag-rin kay nag-story lang ko sa amo angay. Dili yun na
In order not to appear discriminating, ano na lang siguro nga you prioritize the preparation or the issuance of psychological evaluation report for purposes of filing a complaint at the prosecutor's office.
Yes. And we are making the psychological evaluation. Ang amo na ipasabot, we will not release the psychological evaluation kundi nga sa nawala pa tanabot sa prosecutor na level.
So,
hindi kasabot mo. But we will issue a certificate that this patient came to the PIC center and evaluated by the psychologist.
Okay, so you can attach that certification.
Yes.
Anyway, our office will allow the filing, but the necessary report will follow. There
Yes.
must be an undertaking to that.
Yes.
And then follow na yun.
Not
Kaya
all.
to follow na dili mo pwedeng lugayon doon. Sometimes you're just given a day or two, or 1 week or 15 days. Why? Because a prosecutor handling the investigation has only 60 days to resolve.
Yes, attorney, once the patient comes to the PIC center, I will assure you that naghibo na may psychological evaluation, but we will not release. Okay, that's the only way how to empower these and women. No? Nadili na din na level, mahadlong lang na nila ang papel, ana gani. So, ang when you talk about your Valdez, about kung sa himuon, you know what? Ang best thing sa nato ato go to the grassroots, please empower our women. Maura dili. Once we empower these women siguro, dili ta maabot kami nga level yun.
Aside from empowering our women, we also must educate our men.
Yes, kana sa gusto.
Educate
the men. Pero sa kanan sa men, di na sa sila pamilya. Kana. So anyway, mao diri, na ako diri in front of you because I feel that this is the proper forum for our kanang amo ang mga problema karon na na-encounter sa PIC center. And hopefully there will be another agency or another PIC center na mobile sa will be established to help us out. No? Okay, we have how many Caballes? And then we have only one PIC center. Sorry.
sa ako na ito ninyo nga tungkol sa kadaghan ba, bulyo nga mga yun sa evaluation. Grante ngayon niya kunya na lang ihatag kung girequire na sa prosecutor.
Yes.
Right? But on the other hand, kung parangitan ka itong mga pasyente nga nagpa-evaluate niya kanino, na kinahanglan na mahibaw siya, armatunan siya abogado, una pa mapasaka ang kaso.
About sa abogado.
Parang kita require sa o sa kaya konsentrasyon, evaluate ang iya pa. Magkaya pa na, tanaw sa nato kung sa resulta. Alam sa inyo niya na anak patapos ng kaso, kung grabe ang iyong kahita, hindi na mahimo.
So with that, can a certificate pwede ba ang certificate ra nga nakitaan siya sa pin center? Kana siya? Kaya kung sa prosecutor or sa abogado nga level, I think okay naman siguro, di ba?
For me, speaking from the point of view sa katong mga private counsels, usahay ka ng, di ka usahay, mangita ko yun. Ganahan ko tanaw because unsaon man ako paghimo sa kuang allegations. Muna malipay ko ato sa una, naman din ko psychological evaluation sa PIC Center, di na kinahanglan ma-refer sa zonta, then I can. But there are really instances po, fiscal cues, no, nga di kinahanglan psychological evaluation, panamitan caught in the act nga nagmura sa iyahang asawa. Caught in the act nga nagmura. Of course, if ano na lang later on, but everybody knows, common sense would tell you nga, perte akong wow, we had a client nga, ang iyang panty, gibalandra sa rooftop sa village. Ako ang asawa, bigaon kaayo, nalimahon na namin panty. Obviously, kung dakpon to, although wato siya nilakpan, kung nandakpan to siya ato, di na yung kinahanglan psychological. It's obvious. Presentation, but naamay uban sad that they come to me, they tell me nga, kanang di muhatag og sustento ning puyo sa laing babayi. Ang babayi na ay anak from 5 different men, siya ay gasuporta sa anak sa 5 different men. Meanwhile, ang among 7 legitimate children, dili mo suporta. Sakit kayo na hunaon. Ako ray ko, napudpud na akong kamot. Pag hindi mo, higbalan ng taon, kay perting panlaba. And then, I know that it is not just economic abuse, it is also psychological. But how can I haong if I do not have the. And then she tells me, pag yun, kalaming ihikog, yung sulti juda ng maghikog, maunsa na lang ang mga bata. So, at that point, mura kinahanglan yun, psychological evaluation, yung usahay, di na yun may makahuwat mo yun ang maging partner, yun may tinood na, doc, na overwhelmed yun ang Soto. Sila rabi the only, because Soto started out as a rape crisis center, magbiya yun that, di ba? Just a unit nga compliance sa RA 8505 na naagi as established na. But now, ni-evolve, daghan na kaayo, apil na ang mga child abuse, apil na ang VAWC. So, but I have to really comment, the 500 doc ba, it really goes against the VAWC law. I hope you can reach it to hospital authorities and to national, because medical and psychological records should be given free of charge and only at cost. Naa sa RA 9262. So, dapat papilray ilahang bayaran. Nga nung chargean man sa hospital o 500. Dapat ba at cost? Yun. Pero how can we, mapunta na, Caballes, the ILG. On the national government level. Ay, Mount Virgin. Usulti na gusto Virgin. Panelist, Captain, kung ano ito? Francis.
Yung nag-confess na kasi ang mga sultian namin na dapat ingatan nila na libre ang services from.
That's what I said. Ang physical, sexual, mabuti na, free man. Ang psychological lang. Like ikaw nga, nag-awayan mo, nice scenario, nag-away dako, bata nagka-witness, ang bata dadun dito kay na psychologically traumatized, kay nakakita sa adako. Mao na ilaha nga kasagaran, hatagan na nila o kanang anak. Pero not all, kaya assessed kung dili ka bayad ang pasyente, i-refer na mo sa psychologist o niya, katong certificate of indigency, free sad sila.
Ako lang sa ikaw, home siya ko ikon ka. Araw na siya masulpad ako. Kasi parang wala ko yung masa ka sa sabi na barangay na
Pero sa naman kay God budget po, ang barangay. Actually, mga order, dili sa yung cook ang mga kay Mona kay all unit anihan sa Soto. Do you think Soto is a free tanan? Pero once you get to be a patient in Soto, you will buy medicine, bayad ka sa mga diagnostic procedure, mubayad ka sa imuha sa food na sa panina ang ancillary procedure. Okay? OPD, magbayad sa mo sa inyong pag-adto dito. Diba? Pasyente, kung nga pasyente, mubayad sa food. So, mauna siya. Karon, ang PIN center is a non-income generating unit. And
you want to compare with people sa service nila.
sila, Dr. Aquino. Yeah.
Kining makutana lang ni, when it comes to child abuse, kinsa man yun ang angay mo hatag og certificate to file action. Ha? Ha? Bawal ni, ni aman nga itong kauban nga Kuadro Rodriguez. Mabalik man sa barangay. Tungkol kay matod pa, dili kuno dawa itong dito, tungkol kay way certificate to file action from the barangay.
Lupon na siya. So, lupon siya na mga certificate of file action.
Okay? Nag-check na, na-transform naman siya from a child abuse case to a slight physical injuries case. So treat it like any other. Ay, naikwan, reaction sila. Tagalupon na. Naamay mother to assist. Mother can assist, father can assist. Yes. Mother can assist. But you know what, it is very painful no nga ang child abuse mahimo na ng slight physical injuries kay way man anhin. Maghatag tag 500. Uy, God! DILG, ma'am. Kabakit daw ni sila God planning, ma'am, mga nilang tanan, possible mabutang sa budget. Mabutang! Di way budget.
O na ibiingon nga naalagit na sa barangay, it should be part of the plan, pero mo ng 5% naman doon niya. I-check ako na sa COA if it's okay or if it is under your plan.
Ma'am DILG. Nindot malagingon yung mga naas barangay murag kapahig sa barangay. Pero naman kayo ni public nga naghatag ka na kagahuman nga libre na siya. Anong papayron ba?
So, mo na ato ilabi na lang, sir, no? Sakto itong giingon ni Attorney Virgino nga, we will try na lang or some council ba, we'll try to talk with VSMMC management if they can waive the fee bisa kung walay physical and sexual abuse because mo na sakit na sa part sa victim, kinahanglan nila siya undergo sa sexual abuse before na ay corresponding na psychological o para ma-free siya. So, kanan sa siguro, ato ang istoryahon. And then, if not, so let's try to seek other remedies na lang siguro. Okay. I know it's hard for the barangay to shoulder 500. No, dagat kaayo. Imuhang cases, no, imuhang budget dito, may manog billion-billion, imong God budget. Na atong sa pangitaan o remedy kung madalang istorya, the better. So if not, let's try to look for another before we will go to the barangay budget.
Excuse me, napakuminain ay itong gawin nilunet ang hampe. Kaya nga naman, di ba, taga-tuba? Nga nga, napinain mo bimanda ng mga pulis o mga itong mga barangay official. Kaya namin, isip hospital ang ibang barangay. Dili na sila kayo sa medical certificate. Yun ang nag-on, pag-redabokin nyo na sa CCTN. Ano ko? Ipahukong ko sa medical center. Mga silang we're talk also with the manager, the one who's managing CCMC. Diba? So, na-order ko na. Sa Kapuba, please. English sila mo isko ng medical certificate. So, that kung panila sa CCMC, kamo kayo mamiliti.
Actually, naging issues sa Guba Hospitals karon. O niya, lately lang, for 1 year lang na implementation nila na wala na medical legal sa hospital. O niya, opportunity na ginunta kayo sa taga-bukid nga muanha sa barangay Guba, sa hospital sa Guba. Center doon na ang barangay.
Are they afraid of testifying in court? Or it could also be mangkod na you might be a physician pero wala kay training sa medical, legal, forensics. Mahadlok nga mag-issue o certificate kay basing masayop nga ang CCMC musulti nila nga ayaw na mo. It's yes. And wait, before anything else, we'd like to hear from the DSWS also on the side of social welfare. Kasi may mga madugang na alagad sa God ang syudad sa Cebu.
Okay, good morning. I'm Flora Bertolome of DSWS. Sa Caballes office, all barangays are obliged to establish an Caballes office and identify the Caballes person. The Caballes person is different from the God vocal. Lahi di siya pwede ang God vocal o ibuong Japon na Caballes person. By the way, the Cebu City Women's Commission and Family Affairs Commission is starting now, yesterday and today, the first batch of orientation of the Caballes management of every barangay. All barangays will be oriented on the Caballes management. Ama, asa man yung mga yung Caballes management.
There you have it. We hope na nalingaw mo, nakakun mo sa tanan na mong ipresentar karon because this is really very useful knowledge even for lay persons because VAWC or domestic violence or domestic problems actually happen to everyone and everyone should also have an idea of how things might go from the filing of a criminal case and up to the courts and everything else in between. So we hope that we have enriched your learning. Thank you for being with us and good night.